Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a video from a channel I've never seen before. It's from Factsverse. So this is historical events you won't believe happen at the same time. Now this is pretty interesting because when you look at history and things that you know about history, sometimes you will be surprised of the things that happen at the same time. Like can I have an example here? What is it that the pyramids, the time of the pyramids being built in Egypt to Cleopatra is actually further away from Cleopatra than Cleopatra is to the invention of the iPhone. I think that's one of those, like, we think that the pyramids are old but not that old, right? But okay, original videos down below. Let's go.
Factsverse presents historical events you won't believe happened at the same time.
Okay, let's see.
Number 1. 1943. The first wagon crossed the Oregon Trail the same year the fax machine was invented. You might think you're hearing that wrong, but you're not. The Great Migration of 1843 occurred. This was when 1,000 immigrants went to Oregon on the wagon train on the Oregon Trail. The same year, on May 27, 1843, a Scottish inventor named Alexander Bain received the patent for his invention, the electric printing telegraph. This is the grandfather of the modern fax machine that we know today. So while people were traveling to Oregon to begin a new life, somewhere else in the world, a man was taking a huge step towards new technology. Number 2.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that in the old world, Europe, Asia, Africa, things were developed more than in the new world, South and North America. Again, there was a little typo there when it said number 1, it said 1943, but okay. But again, if it's the grandfather of the telegram, is it actually the telegram? Telegram. No, wait, fax machine. Right? Is it actually that though? You could argue yes, but he got his patent for it that back then. Yes, you can argue sort of, right? Okay, that I didn't know about that, but I mean, you could reasonably assume that in the old world some kind of technological advance is being made, is being made versus in the West. But okay. Oh, this one seems interesting. Mammoths, okay.
2660 BC. The Egyptians were building pyramids while the woolly mammoth was still living.
Wow.
The Great Pyramids located in Egypt were being built from 2667 to 2648 BC. At the same time, there was still a small population of woolly mammoths still alive.
Okay.
They were living on Wrangel Island, which is an island about the size of Delaware. The island is located about 90 miles off the coast of Siberia.
Look at that.
It's a good thing that the last of the woolly mammoths weren't living in Egypt at the time. If they were, the pyramids may never have been built due to the danger that these huge creatures possibly could have brought. Number 3.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I don't think the woolly mammoths would like Egypt, but okay. But okay, so they lived on a small population on a small island north of Siberia. That's pretty interesting though, right? Like, imagine if just like some like pretty close descendant of a woolly mammoth existed, right? And like was captured on a camera or maybe even pictured in like the 1800s. Imagine that. That's just, yeah. Okay, that was pretty interesting.
1868. You could take the London Underground to watch the last public hanging in the UK.
Ah.
Today, if you want to watch an execution, you have to be invited under very special circumstances. This was not always the case in the UK. Up until May 26, 1868, you could watch executions. The last one was the public hanging of Michael Barrett. He was hung outside of Newgate Prison in London in front of about 2,000 people. In 1865, the Barbican London Underground station was built near Aldersgate Street. It's actually only a 10-minute walk from the Newgate Prison. Chances are that one of the 2,000 people in attendance actually took the underground train to watch the execution. Number 4.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Huh. But I mean, public executions isn't a new thing. So I mean, okay, in Britain it was the last one, 1868. Okay, that's fair enough. But I think the French one was like, I don't know, 1960s or 70s or something. And I think it was a guillotine. Maybe it was hanged, but I think it was a guillotine. Right? So, you know, meh. That one's sort of... Okay, it's the UK, so okay. Okay, fair enough. Public hanging as well. Okay.
1940.
What is this?
Many prisoners arrived at Auschwitz a few days after McDonald's was founded. Many people believe that McDonald's first opened its doors after World War II. This is because the chain didn't really take off until the war was over. The founders of the fast food chain, Richard and Maurice McDonald, opened their first restaurant on May 15, 1940, and it was located in San Bernardino, California.
Nice.
It was just 5 days after the opening of the restaurant that the very first group of concentration camp prisoners arrived at Auschwitz. This was a wonderful time in history for those who love a McDonald's cheeseburger.
Sure.
And a terrible time for the prisoners.
But I don't know if I don't know anything about this, but or the McDonald's at least, I don't know. But I think that the McDonald's we have today is not owned by the McDonald's. I think they were bought up probably either after the war or in the 50s. Or that is after war, but right? So it's not the famous McDonald's that we have. It was owned by the McDonald's who created it, but it's not the McDonald's today. It's not the corporation, right? But I mean that makes sense because companies are older than we think, right? I mean Auschwitz wasn't that long ago, right? I think people still live who were in Auschwitz today, so you know. Okay.
5. 1908. The Ottoman Empire existed the same year the Chicago Cubs won the World Series.
Okay.
In 2016, the Chicago Cubs shocked the world when they finally won the World Series for the first time since 1908. When they won in 1908, it was just 10 years before World War I, when the Ottomans were defeated. This would mean that the 1908 win from the Cubs was older than Turkey. After that win in 1908, the Cubs went to the World Series 7 times. Before 2016, the last time they made it was in 1945. Number 6.
Wait, what do you mean that the win is older than the Ottoman Empire? What? What do you mean? I didn't understand that one. Obviously, I don't watch baseball, but okay. I mean, the Ottoman Empire has been around a long time. It's like the Holy Roman Empire. I mean, yeah. I mean, that one was meh. Right? I mean, you could say a football team won when the Ottoman Empire existed. Or you can say that, oh, George Washington or Thomas Jefferson was in Ottoman territory or something, right? Like, meh. But okay. What's this, Nintendo? Oh, yeah.
Nintendo was founded before Jack the Ripper was caught.
One thing, though. Oh, okay, Jack the Ripper. Why does it say Napoleon there? By trademark, why does it say Napoleon? Uh-oh.
Many people believe that Nintendo is a relatively new company. When the Nintendo gaming system was released, Nintendo's popularity exploded. The Japanese gaming company was actually founded September 23, 1889. Their first item was obviously not a video game. It was actually a deck of handmade playing cards called Hanafauna. At the time,
Okay.
just a few weeks after Nintendo was founded, people believed that Jack the Ripper was still on the loose.
Uh-oh.
They thought this because an unidentified woman
But
was
wait, obviously he was loose because he wasn't captured. Maybe they mean, oh, we knew about the Jack the Ripper then at the same time, right? Okay.
found, and she was called the Pinchin Street Torso. This is because she was found on Pinchin Street, and police only found her torso.
What?
The rest of her body never surfaced. Number 7.
Okay. That one was a little bit meh. I mean, obviously Japanese companies are pretty old. I mean, if you look at all the companies in the world and look at the oldest ones, they are probably Japanese. Maybe even German or Prussian, but they're probably Japanese. Right? And that's amazing because Nintendo has evolved, right? I mean, now it's pretty famous for its technology and not cards. But, you know, cards, we still have cards today, and we have cards like, I don't know, 200 years ago people played with, right? 300 years ago even, right? So, okay, what's this?
1977. Star Wars came out the same year France had its last guillotine execution.
Oh, okay.
For years, France used the guillotine to execute the most horrible criminals. The last person to be killed this way was Hamida Pimp Killer Jandubi. He was beheaded
What?
on September 10, 1977 for torturing and murdering a 21-year-old girl. Nobody has been executed again after that, and François Mitterrand abolished the guillotine in 1981.
Okay.
Around the same time as the last execution in France, children in the United States were lining up to see the first installment of Star Wars. It debuted in the United States
wow.
May 25, 1977, and in the UK on December 27, 1977. Number 8.
Okay, that was pretty interesting. I knew it was in the 70s though. Okay, that the last guillotine execution was in France. Okay, but that's amazing that it was the same time that Star Wars happened. I mean, obviously that makes sense. Obviously people are still executed today, so, you know, but that the execution had a guillotine, yeah, that's pretty France though, but yeah, okay, interesting.
1971. Women in Switzerland received the right to vote the same year the United States drove a buggy on the moon. Like many countries in the world, women in Switzerland weren't always allowed to vote. It just took Switzerland much longer than most countries to allow this. They started allowing women to vote 51 years after the United States allowed it, and 65 years after Finland. It was the same time that women in Switzerland were finally allowed to line up at the polls that United States astronauts were riding around on the moon in a moon buggy. It was men driving the buggy, but it was a huge step for women in Switzerland. It wasn't long after that women started joining the space program. Number 9.
And joining the military in conscription, right? No. Okay. Okay. But I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, sure. Switzerland women vote at the same time as they had the space buggy. Okay. Okay, I mean, again, that's a pretty... It's not pretty out there like the mammoth and the Egyptians when they're building the pyramids. That's pretty out there, right? These ones so far hasn't been really out there. Maybe the guillotine and Star Wars maybe was pretty out there as well. Okay, what's this?
1975. Microsoft was founded, and Spain was under a fascist dictatorship.
Yep.
In April 1975, friends Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft, which made them more money than they had ever imagined. At the same time, things in Spain weren't going so well. The fascist dictator named Francisco Franco was presiding over Spain using terror and brainwashing by controlling the media and the state education system. Other countries, such as Italy and Germany, ended their fascist politics after World War II.
Yep.
But Spain didn't follow suit. It wasn't until people started having Microsoft computers in their homes that the fascist regime ended. Number 10.
I mean, it wasn't because of that. But, you know, yeah, it wasn't because of Microsoft. Oh, yeah, we're not going to have fascism anymore. We have Microsoft in Spain. Yay. It wasn't because of that. But people forget that Spain was under fascist rule. Under Francisco Franco, which had ruled during the Second World War. Spain wasn't in it, but, you know. Right? That is a pretty... It's an interesting one if you don't know anything about history after World War II, but okay. That one was meh, you know? Okay.
In 1876, the Brooklyn Bridge was being built at the same time as the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Okay.
This is one of the craziest historical events you won't believe happened at the same time. In one part of America, laborers were working hard to build the Brooklyn Bridge, which was the first ever steel wire suspension bridge.
Wow, that's
At the
pretty
same
cool.
time, in the eastern Montana Territory, the Battle of Little Bighorn was being fought.
Yep.
The bridge was still 6 years away from being finished when General Custer and his men were defeated by Crazy Horse and members of the Arapaho, the Lakota, and the Northern Cheyenne tribes. Two completely different events were taking place at the same time in different areas of the country. Number 11.
I mean, that didn't make sense, right? Two different events happen at the same time. In different parts of the world, obviously. But okay. But you can see there that the transition of technology, right? So you go to the east. You go to Asia, Africa, Europe. You have some form of technology. Then you go more west to the east part of America. And there you have technology, but a little less than in Europe and Africa and Asia. But then you go more west from the east coast of America. And then you have skirmishers on horseback and fighting. Obviously they had guns, but you know, right? The famous thing is that Custer lost his entire army. I believe he was 1/3 of the entire army. And then they went again and defeated the Native Americans because the battle was part of a bigger war. It's like the Napoleonic Wars. Again, I'm hanging up on Napoleonic Wars, but it's like the Napoleonic Wars. Just because you won one battle didn't mean you won the entire war. Pretty famous thing to say, right? Just because you win a battle doesn't mean you win the war. But it's pretty interesting still. And the Brooklyn Bridge, I mean, that's pretty cool. Okay. What's this?
1945. When Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, Orville Wright was still alive.
Wow.
Orville and Wilbur Wright are considered to be the inventors of the airplane. Sadly, in 1912, Wilbur passed away from typhoid fever. In 1945, airplanes were used to drop atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Later, Orville was asked how he felt about what had happened since he invented the airplane, and airplanes were being used to drop the bomb. He said he didn't have any regrets about inventing the plane because it would change the world forever. He did say, however, that he found it deplorable that someone used his invention to cause such great destruction. Number 12.
I mean, it's the same with Alfred Nobel when he invented the dynamite, and people used it in war. That's why he created a Nobel Prize. Right? Obviously, Orwell didn't create the prize, but it doesn't matter. But it makes sense. He's proud of the fact that they created that technology, or furthered the use of that technology, and then that people can use that technology. And then if people use bombs and all that, that's not what they did or said that you should do with the technology. That's just what happens, right? Okay. I mean, that was a pretty interesting. I didn't know he was alive, though. That's pretty cool.
1912. Ecstasy was invented the same year the Titanic sank.
Okay.
On April 14, 1912, the Titanic hit an iceberg in cold waters and it began to sink. The ship was considered to be unsinkable, Therefore, the
Yeah.
designers didn't think to put enough lifeboats on board for all of the passengers. Because of this, 1,503 people who were on board died. Many
Wow.
drowned or perished after exposure to the freezing cold waters.
Yeah.
That same year, MDMA, also known as ecstasy, was first synthesized by scientists in Germany. It was originally created to be an appetite suppressant for people struggling with their weight. A year
Makes
later,
sense.
while families were dealing with the loss of their loved ones on the Titanic, Merck patented the MDMA. They
Uh-oh.
decided against marketing it, however, for undisclosed reasons. Number 13.
Okay, that's pretty weird. But about the lifeboat thing, I mean, it wasn't because it was unsinkable that they had less lifeboats. I think it was not normal practice, but a lot of boats had less lifeboats, so I probably think that they could move faster or it's cheaper to build it, right? It's probably because of that, not because of that it was unsinkable that they had less lifeboats, but okay. Another weird thing though, I saw a video, I don't know what its name, but it was of a woman who was a survivor of the Titanic when she was a girl, but she said that she didn't saw it sink, right? She said this, right? She was there, but maybe she's old and forgets, but again, there's something there, I don't know what that is, right? But okay, what is this, Cambridge?
1428. Oxford University existed
Oxford,
for hundreds
right.
of years before the Aztec Empire was founded.
Yep.
According to historians, students were learning at Oxford University as early as 1096. By 1249, the university grew into a fully operational university, complete with halls and student housing. The Aztec civilization, located in central Mexico, is said to have come into existence in 1325. Most people consider the Aztec Empire to be ancient history, but Oxford
Yeah.
University is much older. It is not, however, the oldest university in the world.
No.
The oldest educational institution
Bologna?
is the University of Qarawiyyin, which
Oh.
was founded in 859 AD in Fez, Morocco. Number 14.
Is it? I thought it was Bologna. Okay, whatever. But the thing about the Aztecs, obviously Aztecs could have existed, the tribe could have existed longer before the 1300s, but when they built the empire or bigger cities, it was in the 1400s, 1300s, right? I mean, obviously, when you're talking about the West, you romanticize the West of being sort of like ancient Egypt, ancient China, and the valley civilizations, that they're this mystical people. They built so large communities, and it was thousands of years ago that they did this. Obviously, some of that might be true. We don't know. But about the Aztecs, yeah, it makes sense. If you know about the Aztecs, you know it makes sense that Oxford is older than the Aztec Empire, at least, right? Okay.
1642, Galileo and Sir Isaac Newton were born in the same year. The first two scientists of modern science to gain any fame were Galileo and Sir Isaac Newton, and they
Sure.
were born in the same year. Both men were born in 1642. They both made leaps and bounds in science,
Yep.
and they were the same age. Number 15.
That is pretty interesting, right? Because you would actually think that Galileo Galilei was older. You would think, oh, he's probably like 50 or 80 years older than Sir Isaac Newton, right? But I think it's the same. People think that what's he called? The Spanish painter. What's he called? Uh-oh. What's he called? Picasso. People think Picasso is like an 1800s painter or something like that. 1700s, right? But I mean, I think he died in like, I don't know, 60s, 70s or something? 1960, 70? Maybe even earlier 50s, maybe? But right, that's a... I actually didn't know that Isaac Newton and Galileo Galilei was born in the same year, but I would figure that they were pretty close to each other. Obviously, I don't think they were in the same country, but, you know. And what's this?
2005. YouTube was invented 4 days before Saudi Arabia's first democratic elections.
Okay.
Most people wonder what they did before YouTube. You can find a video on just about any subject to make you laugh or to learn how to do something. Many people credit YouTube videos for helping them to learn how to do household repairs, how to put products together, and even put on makeup. It's also a famous platform for challenges. People challenge others to do crazy and dangerous things, and then they post them on YouTube. YouTube first went live February 14th, 2005. Just 4 days later, something momentous occurred in Saudi Arabia. It was the very first democratic election in history for them. This was a huge step for the people of Saudi Arabia. Since there are so many people who are completely obsessed with YouTube, they might find its release much more exciting.
Okay, I mean, that was a good video, right? Obviously, some of the things were a little bit not out there, right? A lot of things you could think about, and yeah, that makes sense, right? This one about YouTube and Saudi Arabia with democracy, okay, I mean, you can think about that, and yeah, that makes sense, right? Alright, but I'll see you in the next video. Bye!